Hey everybody, hope this finds you doing well. This is Danelle here at Networkchain. What a wild week it was. One for the record books for sure. Let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Last week was a red week. We had a crazy day last Friday, October 10th. Bitcoin currently trading at time of recording at around $111,000. We'll get into what exactly happened on Friday in a moment. But you can see currently Ethereum down 16% for the past 7 days. It broke below $4,000, currently trading at $3,740. We have Solana down 22%, XRP down 19%. Heard that got down to under a dollar. Dogecoin, the largest meme coin of them all, down 26% currently. A lot of these prices bounced back from the lows on Friday when there were a ton of liquidations. Leverage, if you don't know what you're doing, you can get wiped out. And most people who were leveraged in crypto last week were fully wiped out. It's unfortunate, and hopefully it's a learning lesson for a lot of people, but it really was some people believe a coordinated attack. Regardless, these things can happen. Some exchanges had issues with buying and selling. These things can happen whether it be in the cryptocurrency market or the equity market. So you always want to be very careful with what assets you have, where you have those assets, how you go about trading, if you trade, how you go about investing. It's a lot to learn, so that's why we're here to try to give as much information as possible as you do your due diligence. But it was a crazy week, not only in cryptocurrency, but as well as the stock market. So let's go ahead and look a little bit closer at Bitcoin. You can see that the Bitcoin weekly candle, we saw that Bitcoin was as high as 126,000 earlier in the week, and then it fell all the way down below or right around 107,000 on some exchanges. This is using the Coinbase exchange, but on some exchanges it got down to around 104 or so. So it basically did a $20,000 candle in 1 week on the downside. So that's one of the largest candles ever in Bitcoin's history. So we're still holding above this trend line, above that $109,000 range. It did dip below for a second, but it did show some support, and now it's back above that level. So we shall see if we'll continue to stay in this range. Could we possibly get back down to around 100,000 or lower? That's definitely a possibility. Some people believe that potentially the top is in. We shall see, given seasonality and what we've talked about in the past. Usually Q4 tends to be, especially post-halving year, tends to be a time when Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies do very well. Obviously, that's the past. We have no idea what the future is going to hold. But if we do look at past patterns, generally post-halving year, the halving was in 2024. We're now in 2025. That Q4 of the post-halving year, usually there's a typical uptrend in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. That remains to be seen. Obviously, the first couple of weeks of quarter 4 has not gone that well. A lot of it has to do with macroeconomics as well. So that's one thing you also need to make sure that you consider when you're trading, is that there always can be so-called black swan events, which are basically events that are unexpected. It usually comes from a more macro economic factor, whether it be inflation, whether it be wars, whether it be the things like the pandemic, tariffs that happened in April. That was basically the reason that the stock market and cryptocurrency, or at least the catalyst that started the cascade of liquidations and the cascade of pricing going down, had to do with an announcement from the President of the United States. So we'll get there in a moment. So if we look at some of the other cryptocurrencies, we see that Ethereum broke down below 3,500. On some exchanges, it went down even lower than 3,400, but we see that it went down over $1,000 in the past week. We see that Solana, another top 10 cryptocurrency, broke down below 200. It had been holding above 200 for a while. People were looking for that next leg up, but you can see that has now been broken down. It went down to, let's see, it went down to around $174, and it looks like it's getting back closer down to that $174 level. So we still could have a lot of downward movement coming down with Solana. Obviously, time will tell. SUI this is a top 20 cryptocurrency, and a lot of very popular up and coming blockchain according to a lot of crypto folks. And from my understanding, it actually went down basically 90% at one time point, where it went down to below or around 50 cents on some exchanges. So you really have to be careful once again when it comes to trading. Make sure you have your stop losses set. But even in that situation, I've heard that some people's stops did not hold, and they also ended up losing money and getting liquidated even though they had stops set. So once again, you have to be extremely careful, particularly with what exchanges you use, whether it be decentralized exchanges or centralized exchanges. You still have to be extremely careful when it comes to trading, and particularly when it comes to using leverage. So always, of course, make sure you keep posted with us here at Networkchain on X as well as Instagram. And so let's go ahead and move forward with the news. You can see that Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and many others were down bad amid a record 19 billion in crypto liquidation. So because Bitcoin fell due to the president's statements and posts regarding potential tariffs on China, and we'll get to that in a moment, it then caused a cascade of liquidation. So you can see here, following Friday morning, the threat from, or it was a threat, so it's not in place yet, but it is a threat that the United States could be putting a 100% tariff on China and products coming into the United States. China has also intimated that there's a possibility that they could be threatening tariffs or other action when it comes to access to their rare earth materials and metals, which are very important for a lot of manufacturing, particularly when it comes to high technology. So they do definitely have some leverage when it comes to their resources in that country. But you can see here that following a Friday morning threat from the U.S. president that they could unleash massive new trade tariffs on China, crypto prices began to plunge alongside stocks, representing widespread concern from investors. And then crypto declines rapidly accelerated late in the afternoon when Trump ratcheted up his threats in a follow-up post on Truth Social. Most crypto assets were suddenly in free fall. Bitcoin had been sitting above the $121,000 mark Friday morning, but ultimately dipped below 106 in the afternoon. All coins were hit even much higher. You can see Ethereum went from 4,300 to below 3,600. Dogecoin and Cardano briefly showed 40% daily dips before recovering some of its losses. Other top 100 coins like Story and WorldCoin were down more than 50%. Amid the carnage, a record tally of crypto positions were wiped out across the market, generating more than 19 billion worth of liquidations in 24 hours, which is a record by far, according to data from data aggregator CoinGlass. So we normally look for October to be the beginning, and what people call it Uptober, because that's usually when it starts, the Q4 post-halving year. But as we've seen thus far, and as I mentioned earlier about black swan events, this definitely would probably be categorized as that. It triggered these massive liquidations, and many people lost a lot of money. The last time we had this type of liquidation had to do with the FTX fallout when they ended up going bankrupt in 2022. Obviously, the pandemic shutdowns in 2020, so there was a lot of liquidations in the billions during that time frame, but nothing as much as we've had just over this past week, which is absolutely incredible. Basically 10 times the amount of those other two events that I just mentioned. So as you can see here, the largest liquidation event in crypto history occurred over the last 24 hours, where over 1,618,240 traders were liquidated, with a total liquidation amount of 19.13 billion. The actual total is likely much higher. Big Binance only reports one liquidation order per second. So this was from CoinGlass and their X post late on Friday evening on October 10th. So we can see here that also the sell-off not only happened in crypto, but also in the S&P 500 and a lot of other stocks as well. You can see here that the S&P 500. The first post was at around 11 o'clock Friday morning, and then you see that the stock market continued to have its massive decline going into the close on Friday. So it was down nearly 3% on the day, which is one of the largest drops that it's had in a while. NASDAQ also dropped precipitously, as well as the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So basically, a wide range of stocks, from tech stocks, which is represented in the NASDAQ, as well as industrial stocks represented in the Dow Jones. S&P 500 represents a lot of different sectors, from healthcare to tech to consumer discretionary, finance. All of it had been hit over the past trading day on Friday. So definitely we'll be looking to see what the reaction is going to be this week. There could definitely still be more volatility upcoming. And so make sure that you stay posted with all of the news, especially if you are a trader. You definitely want to make sure that you're keeping up to date nowadays, hour to hour, minute to minute, in some cases, to make sure you have an understanding of what's going on with your holdings. But of course, we are going to continue to keep you posted here on Networkchain on YouTube every week. Make sure to keep up with us daily on X as well as IG. And just one last story that we thought was interesting, just to continue to show that the crypto market continues to expand and that traditional financial institutions are very interested in cryptocurrency. ICE, which is the Intercontinental Exchange, one of the largest players related to the New York Stock Exchange. They're a global provider of technology and data. They announced a strategic investment of $2 billion into Polymarket, which just started, I believe it was in 2020. So it's only a 5-year-old company. They are a prediction market. We've mentioned them before in past videos. They are the right now, I believe, the largest prediction market player in the world currently. They're not available right now in the United States, but they basically use cryptocurrency. You can pay with cryptocurrency to make these predictions when it comes to all different types of predictions. Robinhood also has a division where they're getting into the prediction market as well. So you can make predictions when it comes to all different types of subjects, when it comes to politics, when it comes to sports, when it comes to crypto and stock prices, when it comes to what Elon is going to tweet next, all types of different things related to various subjects across the world. So definitely interested to see how this pans out. Polymarket is now being valuated at around $9 billion, given this latest investment from ICE. So we definitely will keep you posted if we hear more when it comes to Polymarket and when they will be available in the United States as well as other countries around the world. But definitely just make sure that you stay safe out there. Just wanted to get this video out to you just to give you a general understanding. Obviously, there's tons of information and really great information when it comes to what happened over the past week. So we encourage you to check that out. But thank you so much for watching. We look forward to linking up with you soon on the Networkchain, and take care out there. Bye-bye.